Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. A new development update has been released for the game, this time covering Soundscapes. Now before we get into talk on sound, there's a number of other things that have been announced in the recent development blog. The first of which is that invites for Tech Alpha 1 are about to complete by the end of the day. That's the 17th of January if you're not watching it today. There will be a second round of invites going out. This is for the former Tech Alpha 2, which is being renamed to Alpha. Now it seems that the developers actually want to rename this to alleviate any confusion between Tech Alpha 1 and Tech Alpha 2. These are completely different stages, completely different builds. So the new invites will be going out on the 20th of January. If you haven't signed up, then you can head to the Microsoft Flight Simulator website, which I will link in the video description. And there will be a short questionnaire that you can complete, which will allow you to sign up and hopefully get an invite that will give you NDA access to this game that's still in development. Now, the invites will be going out between the 20th of January and the 27th of January, at which point Microsoft will be emailing out invites and giving access to the current build. And now, another thing that was mentioned in this particular blog update was access to the SDK update. Now, the software development kit will be sent out to third parties as well as content creators. Now, I'm not quite sure who these content creators are. Usually this term refers to YouTube creators as well as live streamers over on Twitch, and indeed any other type of content creator along those type of lines. And I'm assuming that this is what the developers are actually talking about here. Third parties make a little bit more sense here. These are obviously software developers. Now, the idea here is to provide all of these people with access to the same tools that the developers themselves are using. And they've then said this will allow people who have access to the SDK the ability to create and edit airports, sceneries, planes and missions. So this will certainly expand tremendously on the game once it's finally available. Also depending of course on how far-ranging or how far-reaching this SDK actually goes. Hopefully it will be available to everyone. And of course, really, I think we all know at this point that having access to mods or a big modding community is a way to extend the lifetime of a game tremendously. Just look at Skyrim, for example. 10 years old nearly, and still riding high. Now, the bulk of this update was really about audio technology, and there was a video from the developers on this, but I will summarise it here. Essentially, there's a new real-time audio effects and dynamic mixing going in, which the developers have spent huge amounts of time on. The ability to simulate cockpit effects, among other things, will be here, and audio will reflect the real dynamic changes occurring with weather, environments and the airplanes themselves. Now, every airplane has its own unique individual audio signature, as to be expected, the same as anything really in the real world, but Microsoft have gone all out here, and the audio signatures have actually been physically recorded from each respective plane. So the game actually matches the real planes to the real sounds as close as possible. And this goes as far as accurately mapping the audio in reference to the position of the camera, so that as you move the external camera view around the plane, the audio will adapt accordingly to correctly reflect the sound signature as it would appear in real life. Now, engine sounds are not the only thing that have been mapped in this way. In fact, most interior and exterior components of the airplanes have had their audio accurately captured. Further, the developers have recreated the acoustic space of the cockpits of each plane, and this means that any sounds that are later added into the planes will sound as though they were captured inside the respective cockpits. And modding has clearly been planned to have a huge impact on Flight Simulator 2020. I mean, just imagine, you've got real acoustic spaces here, so basically any sound that's later added into the game by modders will sound exactly as it would if it was in the plane itself. Now, naturally, planes are not the only thing with Microsoft Flight Simulator. In fact, arguably the biggest thing, especially for someone like me who really does enjoy exploring environments, is the full-scale, accurately recreated Earth. So in addition to the environments we've seen, specifically cities and other such things, the world does of course have a whole bunch of different biomes, from deserts to frozen wastelands to mountains and all the rest of it. So Microsoft have really gone to town here and given each biome its own unique soundscape. Night and day also have their own ambience as well, and we can hear these changing throughout the video. And all the clips that you can see and hear here are of course from the officially released video, which I will link in the video description. Now, weather variables can also be changed. In this example, the wind speed is being changed, and this naturally will have an effect on how your airplane functions and reacts to what's going on around it. However, in this particular clip, what's really interesting to me is how the increased wind speed affects the waves of the sea. So, as I discussed in my previous video, weather is certainly going to be a huge deal with Flight Simulator 2020, and it's one of the things I'm most looking forward to experiencing for sure. So that pretty much covers the most pertinent highlights from the recent update, but the video itself from Microsoft and the developers are well worth checking out, so I highly urge you to go and have a look. Again, the link for that is in the video description below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.